It does, there's a certain part of the street where sometimes it cuts off. When I drive down here, going in a little bit later to work today. I mean, we have no patience. There it goes. It's back on again. I don't know. It does that all the time. Down the street, starts circling the screen. I noticed this YouTube glitchy. Sometimes you're talking and when you replay the video, you notice that there's glitches, like it'll skip. I'm like, well, I don't know why it does that. It's the only thing I don't like about the YouTube app versus StreamYard. You use StreamYard and it doesn't do all of that. So, but anyways, back to what I was saying like, I've just been so tired. It's been very busy. I've been working extra hours because I only do 4 days a week now. And I think I'm going to go the main way because there shouldn't be traffic right now. I was exhausted. Last night I fell asleep. I woke up in the middle of the night, stayed up for a couple hours, went back to sleep because I don't like to oversleep because then I get headaches. And then when I woke up this morning, I just felt extremely exhausted. Like I was like, as soon as I finished praying, because I thought I was going to get up, I fell back to sleep. I said, let me just rest my head for one more minute. No. Oh my gosh, it smells like bleach in my car still from yesterday because I think a little bleach fell back there when I was shopping. Oh boy, but fell out. I didn't wake back up to 7:30 this morning, so I got up later than what I wanted. I wanted to go in at 7, but I fell out and I just stayed asleep to 7:30. And so I'm like, good thing today we don't got patience, But I don't know. I had a weird dream, and it got me thinking about like what coworker talks about, right? About how we should supposed to go with our intuition on things when it comes to our relationships with people and stuff. Before I get to that, what we were talking about, about taking heed and warning to certain kind of people. I literally fell out. I said, let me rest my head. And I fell out to sleep and I was so out cold and I felt like I was sleeping for hours, but I was only sleeping for like maybe 45 minutes. So I must have been REM sleeping or something because this dream was so deep and it felt so real. And in the dream, I was in a library. And I'm going to tell it to the best of my memory because it was quite a long dream. It felt like forever. And I'm in the library. I'm looking at different books. And I go to a section and I hear someone's voice. And it sounded like my former friend's voice, and it was her voice. It was so weird. And this is the friend I mentioned I talked about that I stopped talking to back 3 years ago. I known her for like maybe almost 13 years. I was like, oh no, is she here in the library? Because she likes to read and she does write her own books. She wrote her own book already back 5 years ago and got it out there, which was a really good success. So I'm like, oh no, she's in here, not her. I said, let me go hide because I didn't want to talk to her at first, right? I didn't want to talk to her at all, of course, but I went over, opened a book, right? And the book had black pages. Like, why is these pages black? And I was going crazy. Like, why there's no words in this book? And as I was moving the book backwards, it started to look lighter. Every page started to look on each page as I kept going back and back and back. And I saw that it looked like an old book. And on the book, I saw something and it was talking about, and I saw the word God in it. And I said, I wonder what this book is about. You know what I mean? But I noticed she came behind me and sat down next to me. I said, oh no, she's behind me. Why is she got to be behind me? She must intentionally did that. So I turned around and instead of like hiding from her, because I mean, she's already there. I'm not going to act like she's not sitting next to me trying to get my attention. And I come up and I look at her and I said, what are you doing here? I said, what are you doing here? And she, looked at me. She started like, lashing out, like upset. Where have you been? And, like trying to take her anger out on me and not taking accountability that, she wasn't a good friend. And so she didn't mean well for me. So she's sitting there mad at me because it's 3 years later and I don't want to talk to her. So, she lashes out, she runs out of the store, and I didn't bother to chase her. So you know what I said to her? I said, hey, it is what it is. We just can't talk anymore, and that is just something you have to accept. And so she was mad. She runs out the store, upset, and I said, God bless you. And there was 2 guys sitting there. I remember they were like overweight looking. I'm like, and they were sitting there, and they said, wow, what happened? I said, oh, that's a former friend of mine I stopped talking to about 3 years ago. And I kind of explained the situation that this person over time, it says, why so long would someone not talk to their friend? And I said, well, after a couple of years, I started seeing who she really was, and she was manifesting, especially when I got close to God. And that's what I said. And she started becoming different towards me, and she became resentful, and you started feeling feelings of not being secured around that person. And I explained it to the 2 guys, and then she comes back into the library. And now I'm like, oh gosh, I thought she was going to leave for good. But now she's coming back into the library. She's following me around, and asking questions. And I remembered her pulling her phone out and talking to her mother. And her mother, she was like, my mother wants to talk to you. And I said, no, I don't want to talk to any of your family members. So I was leaving. And she tells her mother she don't want to talk to you, and she don't want to talk to anybody in my family. And, I heard, how you hear at a distance, people talk, but you don't know what they're saying. So I just kind of try to distance myself away from her. And I said, yeah, I'll say hi and stuff to you, but we can't be friends no more. And that's what I told her. And I just walked away. I go to my house, and here she comes. Somehow she got into my house. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And she went through my bedroom and everything. And then she left. I said, what the hell's going on? I'm like, how did she get in my house? So I look out the window, and I saw her walking down the block, and there was a dog jumping around that was loose, and she loves animals. So she went over and she started playing with him. She had her phone out. And I said, she's not a bad person, but this lady has a lot of problems. And I was looking over, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad I stopped talking to her. But I was kind of almost wish I never said anything to her. And I just wish I never had said anything or acknowledged her. I just walked past her because I didn't like the fact that she was following me. And I woke up around 7:30, and I said, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that was just a dream. And, I always think to myself, I'm glad that I did not ever address her personally, but wrote her a message, a long message of my farewells, because I feel like if 3 years ago I tried to approach her and tell her personally, met up with her personally, instead of writing her a note, she would have done what she did in that dream, and try to guilt trip me into being her friend and having her family involved. And it would have not been good, because I would have ended up staying in a toxic relationship, one that I didn't feel secured in. And I woke up, I said, I'm so glad that was just a dream. And I don't ever want to bump into her again. I blocked her on all social medias. I blocked her phone numbers, everything. And, you know what I mean? When you feel something strange about a person, and you feel a darkness around them, an envy and a resentment, you know what I mean? You got to take heed and warning to those things. And it got me thinking about what me and my coworker talked about, recently, about friends, jealous friends, and friends who are resentful and envious of you, or they want to live vicariously through you, or they resent you because of your growth and changes as a person. Be careful with those kind of people. How did I get talking about that with my coworker? Was she was talking about a girl from Mexico, and I don't know if how many people are looking into this, but it's a girl from Mexico. She had blonde hair, very beautiful girl. She had this longtime friend that was working with her at her shop, and this friend was a very jealous friend. She was very envious of her. Envious about her confidence, envious because this girl's running a business. She got herself going in her life. You could tell she's a woman that's full of confidence, good self-esteem. She got her life going. She's positive. She had her own live stream, right? And this girl, you can tell she was envious, And she knew this girl for a very long time. We were like probably, I mean, it had to be more than 5 years, I'm sure. She was a long-term friend. She called her best friend, which I don't believe in besties. You know, that terminology gets on my nerves because it's a very fake terminology. And needless to say, this girl, during the time the girl dies, she's in the salon. Her friend holds her up one day on the phone, says, "Hey, don't leave yet. I got to get something in the back for you," right? And she waits there, right? The girl's ex-boyfriend comes and shoots her dead on live stream. While she's live streaming, she gets shot up. And her friend walks over and picks up the phone so calmly, like nothing happened. And people were like, "Wait, that is very strange." Her friend just turns the live stream off, no panicking, nothing, not scared for her own life. And people say, "Well, this is very suspicious. I think this friend set her up to be killed." Come to find out, a lot of people, there was reports that this friend was very jealous of her, very envious. And there was even reports being reported that at one point this friend had strangled her. Like, I guess they got into a fight. And let me just guess, that friend probably strangled her and she felt guilty about leaving her. It was like, you know, "Oh, she's my friend. We got into a major fight. It's okay. Everyone gets into fights. Everybody has disagreements." That's not the point. Had she had any kind of discernment or used it, she would have probably been alive today, because she would have realized, like, let me stay away from this friend. This is an envious, toxic friend. This is a friend that tries to fight me and strangle me when she gets in arguments with me. She's coming at me all the time. It's very toxic. You know? A lot of us tend to think that because I known somebody from the sandbox age and I known them for many years, that they're my friend, I can't leave them, it's wrong. We must have a really good friendship. That doesn't mean you have a good, solid friendship. It just means you are tolerating somebody. You're sticking it through something with someone because you feel like you have to. You don't have to stick in any kind of relationship if it's toxic. It's just like if a man is abusive or he's mentally, emotionally abusive to you, you don't have to stay in that relationship. You know what I mean? Now, if you're married, of course, as a Christian woman, you cannot marry somebody else, but you can leave them and separate from them if they are disturbing your health, if they're disturbing your peace, if they're jealous of you. There's a situation where this woman, she's a burnt victim, very beautiful woman. Even with the burnt scars, now she's a beautiful, gorgeous woman, full of love, joy, and it has a great spirit. Her husband was like that, narcissist, controlling, emotionally abusive, and one day he burnt her on fire on purpose. On purpose. So you got to be careful with people. Don't think that, "Oh, I'm in a relationship. I've been on this relationship for so long. Or I've been in this friendship for so long. Let me stick in this." No. If you feel something off about somebody and you feel something dark about someone, and just like I felt about my friend of 13 years after I started growing my relationship with God and I started growing as a person, as an adult, no longer was I just limiting myself. I started growing. I started looking at things. Not that I didn't look at stuff from a positive atmosphere, but I started becoming more assertive and becoming more confident in myself and speaking about the things that I value and stand for. And it just seemed like she didn't like that. And she started becoming envious and resentful that things started going well for me. Like with my husband working and me and him starting to come together. And even with all the stuff that was going on with me at the time, I had something happen where I had a dermoid mass, and it was like a cyst. It wasn't cancerous, but I didn't know at the time because the MRI lighted up, and my ovary, they get rid of my left ovary and my whole fallopian tube there. So she was like putting things into my head, and I didn't let that bother me. I didn't let that negativity get to me. It bothered her so bad that I was just growing so big in positivity, and I wasn't letting nothing put me down. So it was bothering her, and you could feel a darkness out of nowhere coming on her, and it was coming on slowly, wasn't right away. And when I started feeling that about her, I took heed and warning to that. She, even in her messages, they were becoming passive aggressive, and she would write stuff on purpose to kind of bring darkness to me. Like, "What about your MRI?" After I told her that I leave this in God's hands, and I'm not going to worry about it anymore. It was like she kept purposely bringing it up in order to cross boundaries with me and bring darkness to me. to worry me, to throw my spirit and faith down. And guess what? It didn't work. It made her even more angrier and more upset. And then tries to pretend like she don't know why our friendship ain't together anymore. See the manipulation, the narcissism? And so I'm like, no. I said, we are not aligned anymore. We're on different paths now. And obviously, she knows she has a problem with it. So I just knew to cut that person off. I knew that it didn't matter how long I knew her for. I said, it's best for me to write a letter to her, because I can promise you, if I had come to her in person and sit down at a table, she's going to find a way to manipulate me into thinking that we can stay friends and it's okay, please, you know? So I knew. I said, yeah, let me get rid of her. Let me tell her we could be friends on Facebook. At first, I was willing to do that. But then as time went on, I told her, if you want to delete me, you can. So she deletes me, then tries to friend me back months later. So I said, no, she's just trying to get me to chase her, and I'm not doing that. You know? She started writing weird messages on a text message, like acting like she was gossiping about me. And I'm like, if you want to gossip about me, go ahead, because there's nothing to gossip about. I'm innocent. You're not. So then I showed her, my mother says, ignore it. Don't even respond to her, because she's looking for a reaction. So I just said, nope, I ain't gonna respond to her. I blocked her number. So then she tries to friend me on Facebook twice on my anniversaries. The first year was 2023. The second year was 2024. And then after that, I decided I'm going to block her altogether, where she can't even look me up on Facebook or friend request me again. So that's where we at. So things have been really peaceful, you know. But had I not taken heed to that warning, I can only imagine what could have happened to me hanging around her with that darkness and the vibes she was giving me at the end of our relationship. If I had sat there and said, oh, I've known her for 13 years. I don't want to stop being friends with her. It's so mean. Guess what? I'm thinking with my emotions and not logic and what's right for me, and taking heed to my discernment and intuition. I could have been killed. She could have done something on purpose. You know what I mean? So that I thought about that when I thought of that girl from Mexico and her friend that she known for so long. And this girl was jealous and resentful of her and her growth. And she was acting weird, like she wasn't even upset when her friend got shot. She was just picking up the phone and like she wasn't even scared. And people said, no, there's no way. I knew something was shady about her. And then found out this friend had history of getting into strangling her, getting into fights with her. And I'm sure that's what she thought. Oh, she's my friend. Let me just forgive her. Yeah, you could forgive, but you don't have to stay in a relationship with that person. Be careful of people who are jealous and envious of you and resentful of you and your changes. Be careful of people that have strife and drama and problems around them constantly. Because those kind of people, when they see you're being uplifted and they see you're working on yourselves, are going to try to rip it down. And that's the truth. They're going to try to rip it down because they don't got peace from within. People that are at peace with themselves don't have that kind of energy around them. And that's the truth. And don't get what I'm saying twisted. Don't think that I'm talking about people that got something going on personal in their life. Okay, everybody has things personal happening in their life. We all have a death in the family where we're depressed for a moment in the season. We all can sometimes be just going down, we're in a down spot in our life. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who have chaos and strife and drama and problems with everybody. Because that person obviously is not at peace. To have that much problems with everybody, and you're always fighting, and you always have drama, you always got issues, they have a slanderous, gossiping tongue, and they always got issues with everyone, or they're resentful and envious and jealous spirit, and it's constant. You got to be careful with those kind of people, because those people roam in darkness, and they obviously don't have light around them. And when they see you're being uplifted and you have light around you, guess what? They're going to damage it, whether it's intentional or unintentional. And why I say that is because even if they're not intentionally trying to damage you, their surroundings will. Because everyone around them is chaotic. And they're going to associate you with them, and they're going to come at you. And you just don't know. You can hang in with that person one day. Just like I mentioned, there was a girl I used to hang out with a long time ago, and she had problems with everybody. It didn't matter who it was. And I would walk with her all the time, and every time I turn around, someone's beeping the horn, ready to fight her, or so I'm gonna beat you up, bitch. But and I'm sitting there like, oh man, I'm gonna have to end up getting in a fight one day because, she gonna get jumped one day, and I'm gonna have to help her because she has drama with everybody. Now she wasn't intentionally trying to harm me, but her surroundings were. She had too much drama around her, and then one of these days, if I keep hanging with her, she may get jumped, and I may get beat up with her if I don't have enough arms. Now, if it's one girl, maybe I kick her ass, but or two. But if it's like 4 or 5 of them, I can't defend her because she's doing stupid things and gossiping about people, making up lies, talking about people, or dating a guy that was somebody else, and then I'm in the midst of her problems. So you gotta be careful with people like that. Anybody, you know what the Bible says? It says where there is envy and strife, there is confusion and every evil work. That's what the Bible says. And you have to take heed and warning to that. Shaquilla Robinson is another good example. If you look up her case, those people were so jealous and envious of her. And let me get this straight. We're not talking about a glimpse of envy where you're like, man, I wish I was in your situation, man, but you're happy for them. We all are human beings. We all fall short. Sometimes we get a little envious of something. And we're like, man, I wish I was in your place. But you're like, you go, girl. Man, I wish I was in your place. But you're happy for them. And you're like, you're an inspiration to me. You inspire me more than anything. But when somebody is envious and they look at you and they're like, they wish they were you, and then they look a second look, and you can see that they are mad. Be careful of those kind of people. They're dangerous. They're looking at you. They're chronically competing against you now. They may start copying off your hairstyles and your nails and what you do. They envy your relationship. They see you're happy all the time, and you could tell like they're not happy for you, and they give you this fake smile, and they sometimes even give backhanded compliments, and it's very passive aggressive. And they try to like, what did I say? I didn't say nothing wrong. Try to manipulate you. Those are dangerous ones. They'll sit there and they'll probably have a disease and purposely sleep with your man and give you a disease. Be careful, because there are people like that in this world, a lot more than what you think. And Shaquilla Robinson was a good example. She is another one that could have, if she had just used any discernment, if she had any and used it, she would have been alive to this day, because she would have seen what kind of people she was around. Jealous, kind of envious, dark people. Because when you've seen her and you see her life, she shined. She was filled with light. She was positive. She had her business going. She was in she took photo shots and stuff, and she had her own business. And those people, you could tell they didn't like her. And they were jealous, and they beat her to death and left her body there in Mexico. They called them the Cabo Six. And when you look at the videos, how these women are, you could tell they were dark. And they were full of drama and envy and gossiping and slanderous, jealous kind of spirit. And I bet you 10 to 1 they used an excuse just to attack her as bad as they did. Because that's what they do. When people are jealous and resentful and they want to come at you for something, they find things to accuse you of, and stupid things. And I've seen it. I've seen it so many times. I saw videos where a woman, she drops a cheeseburger on a girl's couch. She was a very pretty girl. And you could tell she's full of light. And the girls there were dark, envious. You could tell they were full of drama. And they dropped the cheeseburger. She accidentally drops it, and they beat her up and cracked her teeth and everything. Used that as an excuse to attack her because of their jealousy. And I remember that video. I said, and it always reminds me back to the idea of you gotta take heed to warning. Those warnings are your intuition, or we can call it discernment. When you feel something off about something, I don't give a hands right ass if you grew up with them from the sandbox age. You need to take heed and warning to it. Don't sit there and say, oh, I feel bad because, I've been in this relationship. Let me tell you something. They won't be feeling bad when they damage your life. Maybe they won't take your life. Maybe they'll take your peace and joy. Maybe they'll ruin your reputation. Maybe they'll take your man and give you a disease on purpose. Before I get on the busy road, I remember this video of this woman. I'll never forget. It was a woman. She said that she had a friend of like maybe 5 years, not as long as mine, but she was friends with this girl for 5 years. She called her like her best friend. This friend that she thought was her best friend, she was so nice to her, good to her, let her and her husband move into her house. Now, grant you, her best friend, I hate that terminology, was married herself. So both of them were married, had husbands. Now, her best friend, she let her and her husband move into her house, right? Let them stay there. You can stay here, everything like that, right? When her and her husband moved out of the house and finally got their act together and their life together, her friend showed her true colors. She calls her up and tells her after 5 years, she says, I wanted to let you know that all this time I hated you and I never liked you. And I was shocked when I heard that. I said, what? Her friend said, I used to pray every day that bad things happen to you and that, things were successful for you. I never liked you. I hated you all this time. After 5 years, her friend decided to confess that. And this is the same friend that let her move into her house. This friend moved her into the house. She moved her own enemy into the house. She didn't even like her, but helped her out. Why did she help her out? She hated her so much. Well, probably because she wanted to get joy out of seeing her misery. And that's exactly what she told her on the phone. She enjoyed the idea of being able to help her, all because she wants to see her misery, that she couldn't help herself. She was down. She had nowhere to live. She could sit there and laugh at her every day. Like, ha, 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 without me, she can do nothing. She's poor. Her and her husband got nothing. She's living off of me. She's not so happy now. Without me, she'll have nowhere to live. That's exactly what she admitted to her on the phone. 5 years later, she admitted that after she got her act together, she realized that she didn't need her anymore. Then she says, she don't need me no more. Let me confess to her what I really feel about her. And I got joy out of seeing her, pleasures out of seeing her being homeless, and that she needed me, that she was struggling. That's what she did. That's why I say you got to go with your intuition about people. If you feel something off about somebody and they have a passive aggressiveness about them, and they're always bringing drama and strife to you, I don't give a fuck what they do for you. They could do nice things for you. They can sit there and say, I love you and I care about you. You're my girl. A lot of times, those are the fakest ones. And they're sitting there behind your back talking back shit behind you. And on top of that, they're probably wishing that on you. They want you to want them, so that way they can sit back and feel joy out of knowing that you're dependent on them. And they can bring mischief to you. And they can sit there and rub it in your face how you needed them. And rub it in your face like, ha, 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 I enjoyed when you were just down and about your struggles. So be careful. Don't think because somebody does something nice for you and they love bombing you and saying, I care about you and love you, that they really love you. Because I already told you about that woman that was friends with that girl for 5 years. And the whole time who knows what she was doing? She could have been spitting in her food. Talking about, hey, come move with me, girl. I'll take care of you and your husband. And behind her back, she's sitting there spitting in her food. So I'm like, hey, I got dinner for you. Because that's just how people can be. So don't say necessarily, do not think with your emotions. If you're in a relationship and you feel something off about somebody, look at their fruits. Look at their atmosphere, what kind of people they are. If they got strife around them, they're envious, they're slanderous, they're gossipy. They're the type of people that give you backhanded compliments. They give you hot and cold vibes. That means that 1 minute they're cold around you and the next second they're hot. They're like happy to be around you. That's because they got mixed emotions about you. And chances are they deep down in their heart, they got some kind of resentment against you or some kind of envy or jealousy towards you. And you need to take heed and warning to that. Don't sit there and take a gift from somebody or take a compliment and take it that, they love you and like you. Because it may cost your peace one day, or it may cost your life. Like I told you, there are situations like that girl. She was friends with that girl for so long and didn't take heed and warning to she didn't take heed to the warning signs. And that cost her life. So that's what it brought me back to. And when I had that dream, it got me thinking, like, I made the right decision leaving that friendship. As I can only imagine if I had stayed friends with that girl, what would have ended up happening to me? Because the feeling I got from her was a dangerous feeling. And it was a feeling like without words. And it was like, Candace, leave now. Don't stand around her. She's not your friend. And I took heed and warning to that. And I'm going to tell you what's really weird before I get off of here. is that I would say probably this wasn't this year. This was last year summertime before I blocked her phone number, right? Because she was acting weird. She wrote to me, "Have you had a baby yet?" Now you're talking. This is like 2 years later. I didn't talk to her, right? And 2 years later, you text me and say, "Hey, did you have a baby yet?" This is in 2024 in the summertime. I'll never forget. And I told my coworker, because my coworker is the same as my really good friend, and she's pointed out fake friends to me that I needed to see. And she told me, she said, hell no. I showed her the comment. I said this, my friend, I haven't talked to her in 2 years. And she texts me. She didn't say, "Hey, Candace, it's been 2 years. I know, sorry that things went down the way it did between us. I hope that someday we can rekindle what we had at one point. But I hope everything's well with you." See, that would have been a little bit more different. But that's not what she said. She came out of nowhere and says, "Have you had a baby yet?" And I just said, "Oh, hell no." I went and I told my coworker, she says, I blocked her phone number. I said, "I don't even want to talk to her." I said, I said, "I'm blocking her phone number. We're done." I said, "Geez, she ain't gonna get a chance to message me now." And I found out that she was doing dark works mantra. And if you know anything about that stuff, that's dealing with false gods and things with spirituality that doesn't deal with God. So anything that's aside from the word of God is of the devil. So if you're dealing with mantra, chakra, Wicca, all that stuff, all those are demonic. And it opens doors to demonic spirits. So I saw her, my coworker saw it. She looked her up and saw something told her, look her up. She looked her up and saw her doing dark works. And she had in her backyard, like a towel down, and she was doing mantra. I said, "Oh, hell no." And then asked me around the same time, did you have a baby yet? I said, "No, something ain't right. It seems like she's doing works of evil." Now, I know that me as a child of God, you could try all you want to put curses on me or whatever you want to do. But see, I have the Spirit of God, so I don't have to worry about that. But at the same time, I don't want to have that kind of energy around me. So it's like, nah, no. I blocked her. That's what made me really finally blocked her when I heard that. I said, "We done." So I said, now I see that everything I feel about people, I can definitely say that is a confirmation that it is not a game. I know now that what I feel about people is real. And so I didn't even have to see her do mantra. I just felt something dark about her before that. And now I know that she said she used to do witchcraft back in the day. She told me she wasn't, but I have a feeling that maybe she was doing it all along. And when I saw that mantra thing, I said, yep, something told me she has something dark and that she must be into dark works. And I took heed and warning to my discernment, and sure as hell it was manifesting. So when you feel something about somebody, you may not know why you feel it, but you better investigate it, because I promise you 9 times out of 10, there's something real about what you're feeling. And you're not taking heed and warning to it because you are questioning yourself. You're doubting your discernment and your intuition. And you're saying, "Oh, I'm just, that's just probably my mind. What's wrong with me? I'm just thinking bad thoughts." No. If you constantly keep feeling something off about a person, chances are there's something wrong. You better investigate it. but that's what I have for today. I wanted to share that message. I'm sure many people can relate, but I gotta go because I'm 5 minutes away from work, and I want to listen to some music for this next 5 minutes. So God bless everybody, and take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.